Welcome to the Madhwacharya for the Youth video series. Today we are going to learning 3 lessons from the life and works of the famous Sri Jayateertha. As we know, in the Madhva Philosophy, after Sri Madhvacharya himself, the position of Sri Jayateertha, or the Tika Kritpadaru as he is known for his famous commentaries on Sri Madhvacharya's work, is very high. He is regarded as someone who was able to enlighten us on the great teachings that Sri Madhvacharya gave us. He has written commentaries which brought to light the richness of Sri Madhvacharya's works. Sri Jayateertha was born as Sri Raghunatha, that was his name, and he was called Dhondu Raghunatha. So Dhondu Raya was his pet name and he was called Dhondu Raghunatha. So his story of how he evolved into a spiritual life is rather dramatic. So he was about 20 years of age when one day he was born in a chieftain family. So he was actually riding on a horse one day on a hunting expedition, and the weather was very warm. It got very hot those days, and on that particular day it was especially hot. So Dhondu Raya was sitting on his horse and he approached the Kagini river to drink some water, but he was so thirsty that when he got to the river he realized that the horse probably too is very thirsty. So he entered and drank water in a strange way, sitting on a horse. He sat on the horse, entered the water so that the horse and he could drink water together, and he then drank water. But what was to happen was something which is startling. On the banks of the same river was Sri Akshobe Tirtharu, the descendant of Madhwacharya's direct set of his disciples, and he was looking for who will succeed him, because Sri Madhwacharya had anointed his 4 disciples to succeed him one after the other, and the last one was Sri Akshobe Tirtharu. At that point in time, something startling happened. Suddenly Akshobe Tirtharu saw this sight and he said, "Kim Pashu Purva Dehe," meaning, were you an animal in your previous birth? When Dhondu Raya heard this, he had a startling moment of revelation when he was reminded of who he was in his previous birth. He was actually born as a bull which carried around Sri Madhvacharya's texts all over the country when Sri Madhvacharya toured. So he had the privilege of being the mobile library, if we may say, of Sri Madhvacharya. And at that moment he realized that indeed he was an animal in his previous birth, and at that moment he realized that he had come for a larger purpose in this life too. He fell at the feet of Sri Akshobe Tirtha and requested him to teach the Madhva Shastra. Sri Akshobe Tirtha was very well prepared for this scenario, did precisely that, and trained gave the disciple Sannyasa Diksha and called him Sri Jayateertha. And of course what happened, as they say, is history, because from then on Sri Jayateertha never ever looked back. There are 3 lessons that we can learn from his life and works. Number 1 is to prepare for the transformation and winning. In our lives, all of us want to succeed. Is there anyone who doesn't want to succeed? Everyone wants to succeed. But how many of us are willing to put in the preparation and the hard work to be able to do that? Sri Jayateertha realized that he had come for a different purpose, and from that moment that he heard Kim Pashu Purva Dehe, he transformed himself and prepared him for a spiritual life which has no parallel in the history. The second lesson that we learn is to be dedicated to a larger purpose in our life. All of us lead a life where we earn money, where we eat food, drink, be with our family, and so on and so forth. All these are worthwhile goals, but one should have a higher purpose in life, something that the knowledge that feeds his soul. And Sri Jayateertha precisely did that. For several years after that, he performed a very rigorous penance to goddess Durga, and then he wrote the commentaries on Sri Madhwacharya's granthas in a remote cave in a place called Yaragola, which is so inaccessible even today. Forget about how it was 700-800 years back. He sat there and wrote those kritis, and everybody who has studied even one letter or a shloka or written by Sri Jayateertha would be convinced about how much of commitment has gone to writing the commentary on Sri Madhvacharya. Sri Vyasaraja, again another great guru of the Madhva Philosophy tradition, actually says, Ananda Tirthopadishto Nidhir Narayana Vayaha Pradarshayena Samyak Jayatirtham Tamashay. That Madhvacharya did the great job of telling us that there was Sri Narayana, but to be actually able to talk about and enlighten us on what is hidden as the treasure within the Madhva Shastra granthas was actually something that Sri Jayateertha did in his life. The third lesson that we learn is a lesson of extraordinary humility. A person who created and composed the Tika granthas or the commentaries as they knows no parallel in the philosophical world. In the whole philosophical world, there is only one person who has got the objective position of being called the Tika Kara or Tika Rairu as he is known for his famous commentary. Nobody else has done that, and he did that in an excellent manner. But despite composing some of the greatest texts which are renowned in the world of philosophy globally, he never actually took credit of it himself. He says very famously in Nyaya Sudha that I don't know anything, I don't know words, I don't know the Nyaya Shastra, I don't know any Tarka, I don't know anything about philosophy. But be aware, if you come in for a debate with me, you will never be able to win, because I am not speaking, it is our Guru who is Sri Madhvacharya who is speaking through me. Such was his humility in the way he presented the granthas. So despite such a great stature that he has acquired, his humility towers it all. So these are three lessons that we will learn on the day of Sri Jayateertha's aradhana mahotsava. Sri Jayateertha is a great guru. His works, his shlokas that are composed on him are all great works. So on this day of the aradhana mahotsava, let's make an effort, a little bit of an effort, to understand Sri Jayateertha and the messages that he has given from his granthas. But these are three lessons that we should try and imbibe on this very auspicious occasion of Sri Jayateertha Aradhana. So continue to watch our channel Madhwacharya for the Youth on YouTube, and you will get a lot of content that talks about the philosophy of Madhwacharya.